And again, welcome to today's session on family and medical leave for faculty and staff. We have a tremendous team facilitating today's session, and hopefully you will get all the answers to your questions. So with that, I'm just going to hand it over to VJ.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for such a wonderful introduction, Shelby. And I want to definitely take the time to give a shout out back to our learning and training development team because they have worked with us to ensure that we can provide everyone with this training via virtually. This is our fourth training that we have done since March, since we all have been home. And today, if you could just bear with us, especially me, as we are going to be using the Poll Everywhere feature. This is our leave management team's first time using this feature online, but hopefully everything will go smooth. As I heard Shelby say, the chat was going and everyone was introducing themselves. So just a little bit about me. I have been at the university roughly 12 years, and my primary function was staff relations, dealing with performance management and discipline. But roughly the last 5 years, my primary function has been dealing with leave administration. Last year, we began leave administration for both faculty and staff, and that is exciting. And one of the reasons why it's so exciting to me is to have an opportunity such as this one to provide employees with the tools and the necessary resources in order to navigate through sometimes that sometimes may not be as happy, when there's serious health conditions with yourself or a family member, or through happy moments such as, childbirth, fostering, adoption. So that's just a little bit about myself. And since we are going to do this virtually, again, normally our classes are really interactive, but the way we're going to interact today is through the chat feature, which our panelists, my boss, Christine Hoddle, is one of the panelists, and Jesse and Yita, another one of my colleagues. So a little bit about the training and the learning objectives that we're going to go over today. We're going to review the purpose, the benefits, and the provisions of FML. Also describing the policies for eligibility, certification, and restoration in assessing FML. Distinguish supervisors' roles and prohibitions in administering FML, and recognizing where to assess the tools. And support before, during, and after FML. And just for a quick reminder, I know an email blast went out probably about an hour before this training. This training will not encompass the new Families First Coronavirus Response Act, as we are happy to announce that we will have a power hour tomorrow, and we're going to start running these weekly. And you can sign up for this power hour through training.umd.edu. This power hour will talk more in detail about the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, go into more detail about the two new leave options, emergency paid sick leave and expanded family medical leave. And I know that's a topic that everyone has been buzzing about. Okay, so now just to piggyback off of what Ms. Shelby said, if you could take out your phones and if you could create a new text message, and you are going to text to 37607. And in the body of the text message, as you can see on the screen, you are going to type UMD leave 543. And if you are like me, where you have two browsers, you can choose the internet browser option using pollev.com/UMD leave 543. And I will give everybody a chance. Test your knowledge, and we'll do one like a pre-test before the training, and we'll do one a post-test. So hopefully this can be used as a tool to kind of assess what everybody came to the training knowing, as well as what you left knowing. So the goal is that you all become experts when you leave the training. Okay, I'm going to give it a few more seconds. The first question, how many hours of FML is an eligible employee entitled to within a 12-month period? Okay, I'm going to give it about 10 more seconds. All right. So this answer is actually 480 hours. So it looks like towards the end, we started getting the answer correct. So it's 480 hours, which is equivalent to 60 days or 12 weeks. So I know some people put 1040 hours, and that's really the hours of requirement in order to be eligible, for FML. Next question, true or false? UMD must pay the healthcare subsidy while an employee is on FML leave, but the employee must pay their premium payment. True or false? UMD must pay the healthcare subsidy while an employee is on FML leave, but the employee must pay their premium payment. Okay, looks like everybody's getting the hang of it now because the percentages are no longer moving. So this is correct. 90% of people got it correct. UMD will have to pay the healthcare subsidy and the employee continues to pay their premium. And we will go into that a little bit more in detail, but it works the same way it does whenever you are reporting to work. So good job. Okay, true or false? Employees who take FML leave are guaranteed to be reinstated to their previous job. True or false? I probably should have given everybody a hint because some of these are tricky, as most true false questions are. When you have strong words such as guaranteed, you have to be careful because that almost implies always. So in this situation, it's actually not true. They're not guaranteed to be reinstated. We'll go into it again in the training in a little more depth because there are some reasons where they may be reinstated to a similar position, if it's loss of grant funding or some other things that may not be reinstated to their exact previous job. But again, that is why you are enrolled in the training. If you got everything correct, then you would not need to be. Okay. Who is not considered an immediate family member defined in FMLA regulations? I think it would be fair game to say that the majority of the class is correct. So a sibling is not considered an immediate family member as defined in FMLA regulations. However, that does not mean that there are not other provisions that allow you to take leave for a sibling. Again, we will go into that in more detail. So that's the end of the poll everywhere. And again, we're going to do another one at the end of the training to kind of test your knowledge and see if I did a good job with training you. So the basics of FML leave. Simply put, family medical leave helps employees balance their work and family responsibilities. Eligible employees can take up to 12 weeks of leave in a 12-month period for various qualifying reasons. So the 12-month period is a rolling period back. It used to be based on a calendar year here at the University of Maryland, but 2 years ago, it changed to a rolling 12-month period. Last year was our transition year, and effective 2020, we went to a rolling 12-month period. And the details, 12 weeks is equivalent to 60 days or 480 hours. Normally, we talk about 12 weeks or 60 days when we're talking about a continuous leave of absence. So somebody is out continuously from a start day to an end day. Intermittent leave, we calculate it based off of hours because somebody may not take a full day. They may take a couple of hours a week, a couple of hours a month. So we're tracking it by hours. A reduced schedule is simply what it's saying is that somebody's schedule may be reduced. So they're working less hours per day and less hours per week. And here's the definitions. Intermittent leave can be taken in separate blocks of time. I'm sorry, not two. Scheduled follow-up treatments and or unscheduled leave due to episodic flare-ups. Reduced schedule is leave that reduces an employee's usual number of working hours per work week or work day for a specific period of time. Okay, so qualifying reasons. Eligible employees can take up to 12 weeks of leave within a 12-month period for their own serious health conditions. So if you as the employee, the staff member or the faculty member have their own serious health condition, that's a reason that you qualify for FML. To care for your immediate family member who has a serious health condition. Qualifying exigency, that's for armed force members. And like I mentioned earlier, for more happy reasons, the birth of an employee's child, the placement of a child with the employee for adoption or foster care, and care of the employee's child within a 12-month period from birth or placement. We do like to stick the caveat in there that if an employee is out for 4 or more consecutive days for medical reasons, that the department should contact our office, which is the UHR leave consultants. And that's primarily based off of our sick leave policy and family medical leave definition of a serious health condition. That normally when somebody is out for 3 or more days, that it has risen to the level of a serious health condition, and we don't want anybody that's working that technically should not be working or hasn't been cleared from their position. It doesn't mean that we are going to automatically designate FML, but we do kind of want to keep track of anybody that's out for 4 or more consecutive days for medical reasons. Okay, so a little bit about the law in FML and how it came about. This federal law provides all of what's listed below. So in 1993, under the Clinton administration, the FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act, was approved. And the primary basis was approved unpaid leave of absence, maintenance of health benefits, and job restoration. However, in 2008 and 2010, it was amended to provide entitlements to military families. So anybody that goes to my trainings know that I like to use a lot of visuals. So when I refer to FML, we normally say that that's the job and the benefit protection. And we'll get into how do you remain paid while your job and benefits are protection. But I kind of refer to FML as that's your left hand. So you have FML, your job and benefit protections, and then we'll go into a little later of the right hand. How does it work in terms of your pay? Okay, so what does maintenance of health benefits and job restoration really mean? And these were 2 of the questions that we asked in the poll everywhere. So maintenance of health benefits. During FML leave, the state of Maryland provides employer subsidized health care benefits and collects employee premium payments via payroll deduction. So everybody knows when you're reporting to work every day, and you're fully paid during the pay period. When we look at our pay stubs, you can see the payroll deduction portion of the employer subsidized health care. So that same thing will continue when you are on family medical leave as long as you remain paid. So unpaid status reminder, everybody knows we went to Workday last year when we were signing up for our benefits. So as it relates to you being in an unpaid status, most people have to arrange for direct billing to maintain their subsidized premium and coverage while in an unpaid status. However, the state of Maryland still will provide that employer subsidized portion. You would just have to set up direct billing for your portion of payroll deduction. And that would be calling our benefits office, 301-405-7575. So the next piece is the job restoration. An employee returning to work at the conclusion of their FML leave shall be restored to the position they held when their FML leave commenced or an equivalent position. So that's why part of that guaranteed question that we asked earlier in the session, it's not guaranteed that you will be restored to the exact position, but it can be an equivalent position. So reasons for denial of restoration would be if an employee would not have remained employed even if they were working. So reasons such as layoff, grant funding has ended, or any other reasons where if you were physically still reporting to work every day, or in the current situation like we are now, if you were teleworking and you would have been normally teleworking, even if you didn't have a health reason and there was a layoff, that's a reason for denial of restoration. Announced intent not to return to work, so that you were off on FML leave just to prolong your ability to stay employed, but you had announced that you weren't going to return afterwards. So that would be another reason. Fraudulently using FML leave and or violated university policy. This is a rarity because, believe it or not, we are not out here, looking to see who is misusing FML and, searching and doing investigations, but this is a federal reasons for denial of restoration. And the last one is if for some reason, medical reason or any other reason, that you are no longer qualified to perform the essential functions of the job. Okay, so FML leave is the use of paid leave. This is where we start talking about the right hand. It's nice that my job and my benefits are protected, which is that left hand, but how can I stay paid while all of that is going on? So here at the university, most people are aware we have annual leave, comp leave, personal leave, and sick immediate family leave. Now, on the faculty side, I know depending on whether you're 9 month or 12 month, everybody doesn't earn annual leave and or comp leave, if you're exempt versus non-exempt. But these are 4 of the paid uses that we have here at the University of Maryland. So FMLA entitles employees to approve unpaid leaves of absence, meaning the FML itself is unpaid, but you can still use leave to remain paid. University policy states that an employee must exhaust all of their accrued leave prior to using the unpaid leave. So we've had periods in time before where employees want to take FML and they don't want to use their paid leave. They want to save it because they may have a vacation or something that's planned. But per our policy, you have to exhaust all of your accrued leave before you go into an unpaid status. Paid and unpaid leave run concurrent with FML leave. So that's the 2 hands working together. Both of them are running concurrent. An eligible employee may be eligible for additional paid leave benefits after exhausting their accrued paid leave, appropriate to the purpose of the leave. So on the staff side, we have advanced sick leave, extended sick leave, the leave reserve fund, and both faculty and staff have parental leave options. Now, there have been some options for both faculty and staff to request advanced sick leave, which we'll cover that in tomorrow's training due to some of the COVID restrictions and some of the restrictions being lifted for eligibility reasons for these additional paid leave. But in general, advanced sick leave should be used for an absence that's related to a medical absence. And that is where you are borrowing against your future sick leave accruals. So employees are eligible for up to 15 days of advanced sick leave per calendar year of service, capped at 60 days. And the way that you repay it is once you return to work, your annual leave and your sick leave accruals, we take half of those. We do have employees that they want to come in and just cut a check, and that is an option, but the automatic option is that we take half of your annual and your sick leave accruals. As it relates to extended sick leave, That is an actual gift of leave. And there's a 5-year service requirement, eligible for up to 1 year or 2080 hours of leave during your entire UMD career. And the last one, the Leave Reserve Fund, that's a gift of leave. There's a 1-year service requirement, and you're eligible for 1 day of leave for every month of creditable service. Parental leave, we have a whole entire training that's separated for faculty and staff. We have one next week that's for staff and one the following week for faculty, where we delve into more about the benefits for parental leave, the paid benefits, and other options that are available that are afforded to employees under parental leave. Okay, so now we are going to do another test your knowledge. I know that was a mouthful that I have spoken. So back to our poll everywhere. True or false, FML leave can only be taken on a continuous or intermittent basis. And again, just the facilitator in me, I like to give hints. So I always tell people beware of only, always, never, those words like that. So when you are responding, pay attention to that. FML leave can only be taken on a continuous or intermittent basis. Give you about 5 more seconds. All right, I like to see that true number going down because that is false. It can be taken on a continuous, intermittent, or reduced schedule. That's the other one. So any 3 of those combinations. Excuse me. Okay, another true or false question. If an employee is out for 4 or more consecutive days for medical reasons, is it best to contact your UHR lead consultant? All right, I'm excited. I like to see the majority of the class get it right. So yes, that is true. It's best to contact us because we do not want you working if you have not been medically cleared. We are here to make sure that you are able to work and that a medical professional clears you to return to work. So that's good. Okay, our last true false question right now. University policy states that an employee must exhaust all of their accrued leave prior to using unpaid leave. Is that true or false? University policy states an employee must exhaust all of their accrued leave prior to using unpaid leave. Yes, we have 100%. That is true. Good job, everyone. Okay. So now we are going to get into the nitty gritty of, just again, reviewing the qualifying reasons for your own serious health condition, care for an immediate family member who has a serious health condition, qualifying exigency for armed forces, and birth, placement of a child, care for a child within a 12-month period. And then just, again, the reminder of 4 more consecutive days out for medical reasons to contact us. So let's go into some definitions so that we can know what are these 4 different reasons that we keep talking about. So a serious health condition. One of the conditions is that it's a physical or mental illness, injury, condition, or impairment that requires inpatient treatment or continuing treatment under the supervision of a healthcare provider. Another condition is that it could be a chronic, a serious condition, which may cause episodic periods of incapacity, or pregnancy, so prenatal care and or the birth of a child. Who are covered underneath this? Immediate family members are your spouse, parent, child, or in loco parentis. And this is, in loco parentis is a case where someone was acting in a parent role. as well as yourself. So I know this says, immediate family members, but a serious health condition can be for yourself or for one of those immediate family members. So military FML is 12 weeks of exigency leave, short notice deployment, attending military events and related activities, attending to childcare and or school activities on an urgent, immediate need basis, not on a routine, regular, or everyday basis, receiving counseling, and attending to financial and legal matters. So they get 26 weeks of military caregiver leave, which is leave to care for the employee's spouse, the child, the parent, or next of kin who is a covered service member or veteran with a serious injury or illness and is one, undergoing medical treatment, recuperation, or therapy. Two, they could be receiving outpatient medical care or they're on the temporary disability retirement. And one of our most common ones besides serious health condition is bonding with a child. This is taken within a 12-month period from birth or placement. And you can use annual, sick, personal, and or comp leave when bonding with a newborn or adopted or foster placed child. However, an employee may opt to request parental leave if they are the primary caregiver of the child and the leave is taken within the 6-month period surrounding the birth or placement. Okay, so now that we've gone over the reasons for FML, let's talk a little bit more about the eligibility. So there are two main eligibility requirements. One is a minimum of 12 months of employment within the university system of Maryland and or the state of Maryland. So the employment does not have to be here at the College Park institution. It can be a combination of university system of Maryland service and or state of Maryland service and College Park service. And the other is work at least 1040 hours in the 12 months immediately preceding the leave. Most people are like, how do I know if I've worked at least 1040 hours? If you've been here for the majority of the year in the last 12 months, at least 9 months of the year, then you have pretty much worked at least 1040 hours. Okay, so here is another test our knowledge. I want to see 100% again, like I saw the last time. Is Emma eligible for family medical leave benefits? Okay, I gotta see where Emma is. I don't even know if I have her up here. Somebody said yes, and I don't even have the Emma question up here. So this is why I asked in the beginning if you could bear with me, because I don't know if Emma is eligible or not, because I didn't read you all anything about Emma. So let me see. You may have to scratch these. Okay.
Hi, BJ. This is Shelby. If you want, I can read a description out loud to folks.
Okay, let me see. Okay. Yes,
So
please.
you bet. All right, so this would be a case study. This is from a workbook. This is also an in-person class, but I'll just read it out loud for everyone now over the phone. Emma is a full-time, non-exempt, regular employee with 1 year of service at University of Maryland and 15 years of service at Towson University. She has worked more than 1040 hours in the last 12 months. On Monday, Emma left work early to visit a local urgent care facility. She was later diagnosed with a bad cold. The physician told her to get some rest, stay hydrated, and take some over-the-counter cold medicine. Emma returned to work 3 days later. So our question for our audience is Emma eligible for family medical leave benefits?
Okay. All right. And that is, I'm assuming everybody finished. Yes, so 100% correct. And I actually found the case study. So thank you, Shelby. I'm glad I printed out the workbook.
You bet.
So yes, so because she returned to work 3 days later, she had over-the-counter medicine. This would not be considered a serious health condition. Let me see, can I get back into advancing to the next slide? Slides are not advancing. Okay, so we have another case study, and I'm prepared now. So thank you again, Shelby.
You got it.
Case study number 2 is talking about Jim. So Jim is a full-time exempt regular employee with 4 years of service at UMD. He's worked more than 1040 hours in the last 12 months, but Jim took 2 weeks of leave to care for his wife after the birth of his daughter. Jim returned to work, but 10 weeks later, he took 4 additional weeks of leave to care for or bond with his daughter. Is Jim's leave FML qualifying? Yes, 100% is correct. Jim's leave is FML qualifying. Now, here is the key. What are Jim's qualifying reasons? Somebody said Jim has a serious health condition. Maybe he is exhausted from the birth of the child and getting up in the middle of the night. The birth of Jim's child, the care of Jim's immediate family member who has a serious health condition, multiple qualifying reasons, the care of Jim's child within a 12-month period from birth or placement. Okay, see the numbers still moving. Okay, so it's actually multiple qualifying reasons, but whoever said the birth of Jim's child, that is one of the qualifying reasons. It could also be to care for the immediate family member who has a serious health condition. As we saw, the person that is actually giving birth, that's considered a serious health condition because there's a period of recovery. So Jim may be taking care of the partner, the spouse that's giving birth, as well as care of Jim's child within a 12-month period from birth or placement. So I see we removed that Jim has a serious health condition because we hope, at least in the beginning, that Jim is still excited about the birth of his new little baby. Okay, what type of leave may Jim use the first 2 weeks when caring for his wife? And pay attention, because I know with these multiple choices, you have to read through them all first, okay? Annual leave, sick immediate family leave, family medical leave, parental leave, or multiple leave types. Looks like everybody is finishing up. So this one is also actually multiple leave types. So of course, kind of the first one that comes to mind is sick immediate family leave. But that is a paid, remember the right hand, the paid leave code that can be used while on family medical leave. So that's 2. You can also use annual leave, because annual leave can not only just be used for vacation, but it can also be used to care for yourself or for a family member when somebody is sick. Parental leave, although we didn't delve into the depth of parental leave in this training, that is also a leave that he could use, because we did find out that he qualified for FML, so he met the minimum qualifications of at least being employed here for 12 months and working the 1040 hours. So multiple leave types is the best answer, but the other ones are not wrong. So everybody wins. Okay, and the last one for Jim. What type of leave may Jim use for the additional 4 weeks when caring for or bonding with his daughter? And I think we are all pretty much getting the hang of it because I see the 76, 79, 80%. So this one, again, is multiple leave types. So you could use any of those combinations of leave. Although with parental leave, again, we're not going to delve into it in this training. You have to use it in one consecutive block. So if you chose parental leave for the first 2 weeks, when you came back and went back out, you can't use the parental leave again, not the paid form of parental leave. But again, multiple leave types would be the best choice for this question. Okay, good job. Now let me move my roll over here. Okay, so FML leave, supervisor role and responsibilities. So supervisors should not collect medical documentation from employees to ensure confidentiality. Employees should submit medical documentation directly to the leave management team. What supervisors should do is notify the leave consultant when an employee has been off work for 4 consecutive days or more for medical reasons. Now, not for vacation, but for medical reasons. Code family medical leave under the paid leave, which counts towards family and medical leave entitlement section of the employee's timesheet and PHR. So they are responsible for coding the timesheet and PHR. Employees cannot code FML time. And notify the leave consultant of any significant change in the frequency and or the duration of intermittent leave. With most intermittent leave, when we receive the medical documentation, it indicates, kind of a projection of how long the employee is going to be out, the frequency, the duration of any intermittent periods of time. Do not, supervisors should not refuse to authorize FML because it's just an inconvenient timing, or they are wondering, where did this even come from? Do not discourage an employee from using FML. Do not discriminate and or retaliate against an employee for using FML leave. And do not use an employee's request for FML as a negative factor in employment actions, such as hiring, promotions, or disciplinary actions, and or in performance reviews. You cannot do that, which I know we don't have any supervisors that would do that. Again, supervisors should not collect the medical documentation. There's a HIPAA protected documentation, and this stuff should always be sent directly to the leave management team at umdleave@umd.edu. So the email address is umdleave@umd.edu. So the FML leave request process and procedures. And there's normally 5 steps. The first step is the employee request, and there's a notice requirement that goes out. Eligibility notice, that comes from our office. Certification, that is the certification of healthcare provider form, which is a Department of Labor form that the physician completes, either the employee's physician or the physician of the employee's immediate family member that they're requesting the leave for. There's a designation notice, and that lets you know FML is approved, FML is not approved, like what the final approval status is. And then the reinstatement return to work. So those 5 key pieces to the process. Okay, FML leave, the important paperwork. So it's 2 main pieces. Employees may need to submit the following documents. The first one is the employee request form. This form should be completed by the employee. It's a 1-pager, it may be 2 pages, but it just pretty much indicates, for operational reasons to the department, your request for FML. It indicates the duration, so the start and the return to work dates. These are all projections, of course. And then it also includes like the amount of leave that you have to date, just kind of basic information that the employer would need to know for operational reasons. The other big piece is called the certification of healthcare provider form. That's the form I mentioned to you. That's the Department of Labor form. And depending on the employee's qualifying reason, this should be completed by the employee, the first section, and then the healthcare provider completes the second section. So for an example, it's a medical certification. Okay. So some FML leave, important paperwork deadlines. Employer request notice requirement. When foreseeable, you should be requesting FML at least 30 calendar days written notice before the FML leave is to begin, or as soon as practical, generally within 2 working days before leave is to begin. So this is, when you can foresee that you are going to need to request FML. Unforeseeable, as soon as you have knowledge of it prior to the start of the employee's next scheduled work shift. So it's not always that we have planned surgeries. When you are, expecting a child or something of that nature, those are normally foreseeable. Sometimes, surgical procedures, when you unexpectedly get sick or you have some type of chronic health condition, it may or may not be foreseeable or unforeseeable. So the medical certification. And I know I keep saying this, but it is something that all physicians should be fairly familiar with because it's a Department of Labor certification of a healthcare provider form, and it should be completed by the healthcare provider. Must be submitted within 15 days from the date that the employee is notified of their eligibility for FML leave, unless it's not practical to do so. But, again, good faith efforts is 15 days. We definitely know, especially during these times, that it may not be feasible for somebody to provide the medical documentation in 15 days. Doctors' offices are backed up. They're dealing with a lot of pandemic COVID type related things. So deadline extensions may be granted. So we are flexible. It's not a deadline drop date of 15 calendar days. Reminder, to ensure confidentiality, employees should submit medical documentation. Where we're going to keep saying this because we do not want supervisors putting this medical documentation in the employee's file or in the personnel file. That is not where it goes. It comes directly to our office. Okay, so the biggie, this was a lot of information. What are your next steps? We have our updated website. So you would visit uhr.umd.edu/leave/FML, and you're going to locate the appropriate forms that you need to submit, the request form as well as the certification form. Step 2, you would fill out the forms or the section of the forms that require your completion, you as the employee. Step 3, you send the required forms to the certification of healthcare provider or another person to the appropriate parties ASAP. All completed forms then come to us. So at the end, we get the FML request form, we get the certification of healthcare provider form, but that FML request form does have departmental signatures on it so that they can remember operationally know that you as the employee are unavailable during this FML requested leave time. Step 5, you should wait to hear from your leave consultant, which is myself, Christine, or Jesse. And our goal is approximately 5 business days, but we are a team of 3 handling family medical leave for all of campus. So we do ask that you be patient, but our goal is always to try to get it out within 5 business days. However, you can feel free to reach out to us if it's taking too long and you just want to know the status. So here are the resources. The USM policy on family medical leave, and this is for exempt and non-exempt staff. The USM policy on sick leave for exempt and non-exempt staff. And then the UMD policy on parental leave and other family supports for staff, exempt and non-exempt MOU and DOL. And we don't have the appropriate policies listed, my apologies, for faculty, but for every staff policy, there's one also for faculty, but that is listed on our website. So on the website are the forms, the procedures, definitions, and an FAQ, an updated FAQ. And if you want to know who the lead team members are, our boss and the lead leave consultant is Christine Hoddle, and her groups are AG, Business School, BSOS Library, SVPAP, and VPUR. And then we have myself and Jesse, and these are our respective groups. And so depending on what group you fall into, you would reach out to the leave consultant. We all have access to that UMD leave shared email. That phone number, the 301-405-0001 is our main line. So if you left a message, it could be forwarded to us. And again, if any of us are out, we have the shared email in the common line so that we can step in as needed if someone has a question. So that is pretty much the end of the presentation. So I think Shelby may be opening it up for Q&A. I know Christine has been in the background answering questions, Christine and I think Jesse. But since we have some time left, we can definitely open it up for Q&A.
Absolutely. This is Shelby once again. What an amazing presentation. Thank you so much, VJ. Phenomenal information. And thank you, everybody, to your wonderful participation in our polls, as well as all of the questions that have come in. I've seen Jesse, Christine, Lillian, and myself responding fervently. So we really appreciate that. And what we're going to do now is we'll allow folks to continue to submit your questions in the Q&A panel as you have them. And then first, what we'll do is invite either Jesse or Christine if we wanted to highlight any of the questions that have come in the Q&A panel that would be appropriate to address to the entire group that you'd like to read aloud and share your response for. We can do that first, and I'll just allow you to go ahead and unmute yourselves, Jesse and Christine, as appropriate. And then after that, we'll go to a raised hand option. So for attendees who are interested in asking a verbal question over the phone, if you look on the right side of your screen, hopefully you see a participant panel. And at the bottom of that, you should see a teeny weeny little raised hand icon. And that will alert us that you have a desire to ask a question verbally over the phone. And then we'll unmute folks one at a time, and we'll give you a verbal note that we're going to be unmuting you at the time to ask your question. So with that, I'll just see if Jesse and or Christine have any questions to highlight for the group.
Good morning, everybody. This is Christine. I've been trying to keep up with the questions, so I don't have anything specific to share right now.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Christine. Jesse.
Same, nothing to share.
All right, wonderful. So let's see. We do have a few folks who have found the raise hand feature. So Tessa, give me just one moment. Tessa, I'll go ahead and unmute you and you can ask your question.
Perfect. Can everybody hear me?
We sure can.
Perfect. So my question, I guess, is a clarification on using the leave related to pregnancy. Our staff, I work in the counseling center, and during a staff meeting, an announcement was made that instead of exhausting all of annual personal and sick leave related to childcare, that you would only be required to use like annual personal, but not the sick leave. At the time, I was not expecting, so was not fully paying attention when they were discussing this, but I was hoping you could talk more about that, if it is true or relevant, or if that's more so related to parental leave. I have signed up for that class next week as well.
Okay, no problem. Thank you for that question, Tessa. And actually, Counseling Center is my group. But yes, you were correct. It's more related to parental leave. So everything is kind of circumstantial, where you can kind of choose like what best option works best for you. So if you remember some of those poll everywhere questions where it was like it listed, annual leave, parental leave, FML, sick leave, da 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 da, and then it said multiple leave types. So under the parental leave policy, you are not required to use your sick leave. And actually, you cannot use your sick leave for staff. So they may have been referencing if you request parental leave, you would only exhaust your annual and your personal leave, and then the university would step in and cover the remainder up to 60 days with the paid parental leave benefit. But if you're not going to take, parental leave, then you could use your sick leave. And again, that's good that you have signed up for that training. But just to give a quick example, if you are somebody that has, I don't know, you always in a use or lose status, and you have 400 something hours of annual leave, you've been here for years, you've never been sick, you never needed to request, any time off. So you have 900 something hours of sick leave. So you have 4 something annual, 9 something sick, and you have your 3 personal days, the 24 hours. It may not be in your best interest to request parental leave because, again, I kind of often refer to annual leave as like your platinum leave. You can use that for vacation and just for some you time, but sick leave has to be used just for that. So in that example, the employee that has the 900 something hours of sick leave, they would just use sick leave for the 12 weeks, which is equivalent to 480 hours, and they wouldn't have to touch their annual leave. So that's why we always say kind of reach out to your leave consultant, and we can go through what works best for your situation based off of your leave. Some people don't even want to take the full 12 weeks. Some people want to break it up because, mom is stepping in and dad is stepping in, or whatever the family dynamic. So we like to always consult with the employee. I hope that kind of answered your question. So long
Yes,
story short,
thank you so much.
you're right that applies to parental leave that you can't use, parental leave for staff that you can't use sick leave.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, VJ. Our next question is coming from Barbara South. So Barbara, you're unmuted.
Hi. I have a hypothetical question, actually. If we had an employee who was out on extended leave because of an injury that happened, not work-related injury, and he has applied for disability retirement, this is hypothetical again, and if he's denied the disability retirement, I noticed that one reason that you stated that they wouldn't be able to return to work is no longer qualified to perform essential job functions. What steps would you have to take to determine that he was no longer qualified? Would he have to go through some kind of a medical review on campus? What are the actual steps if that were to happen?
And okay, and I'm gonna chime in, but I may rely on Christine's expertise or Jesse as well. So first, we would need to understand, because disability retirement, we wouldn't necessarily have that paperwork, but we would need to understand exactly what the medical condition limitations would be, in reference to quote unquote position description. I know everybody doesn't have position descriptions, but can he or she perform the essential functions of their job duties? If not, we may end up going through the formal accommodation process, or it may be a discussion with one of our staff relations colleagues in terms of, the employment decision. I don't know, sometimes they do fitness for duties, but we would need to understand more so the medical circumstances as they relate to him being unable to perform the essential functions of his job. Oh.
And Barbara, does that help clarify your question?
It does. It does. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you very much, Barbara. I see one more hand raised at this time, Melissa, and let me go ahead. And, oh, I see another hand. So now is the time, folks, if you did want to ask your verbal questions, to go ahead and raise your hand. So I'm going to unmute Melissa.
Hello.
Hello.
I have like 2 questions. My first question is about leave, like leave without pay. And I'm guessing that might not be this webinar, but I had a question about that. Are employees allowed to have leave without pay? And then what is the process for that?
Okay.
And then my second question is, when you were giving the different explanations, like for serious health condition, for a military person, military is allowed to have time off or use FMLA for their kids for a school related event or something of that nature. Is that not allowed for other regular individuals as well?
Okay, so I'll address, I'm trying to remember everything you said. I'll address it in two parts. So the first part was about leave without pay. There's a formal leave without pay process, and we can talk about that, off this training. But because oftentimes, we use words like leave without pay, unpaid leave, family medical leave, unpaid. That does not mean that an employee cannot go unpaid. But if it is, related to a medical reason or not related to a medical reason, there's actually a formal leave without pay process. Now, I don't know if you're speaking in general, but there are circumstances where an employee may start out with enough of leave and then they don't have enough and they may not want to borrow any leave or they may not be eligible and then they would go into an unpaid status. That's not the formal approved leave without pay. But I can, you can definitely reach out after the training and we can talk about it more in detail if it is, something that's a real live situation that you want to talk through. As it relates to the provisions allowed for childcare, generally, no. We don't have any type of, policy or FML provided for childcare, with the exception of military leave. However, this is now, a different situation given this COVID-19 Families First Coronavirus Response Act pandemic, and we will go into that more so tomorrow in the up and coming weeks on that power hour that I mentioned, because there are now provisions that allow for employees under expanded family medical leave to take time off for childcare. However, I'm not going to go into that on this, training session, but that is a good question, and I'm glad you asked it. So if somebody does want to know kind of how that works as it relates to the childcare piece or even the schools, being out piece, and so the children are home with you, that's what the power hour sessions are designed for. So we can delve more into this expanded family medical leave and the emergency paid sick leave.
All right, thank you.
Yes, and also just a note for folks on the line, it's probably no surprise that that particular webinar was extremely popular and has already filled up. So we're working on expanding the registration capabilities for the Power Hour tomorrow, but we also will be offering it multiple times throughout this month. So just stay tuned, keep your eyes on the training.umd.edu calendar, and we will be able to take care of you. No worries there. So thank you, Melissa.
Thanks, Melissa, and thanks, Shelby.
And we have one more hand raised so far that I see. Khadijah, let me just find you in our list. All right, Khadijah, you are unmuted.
Hello. Please, I have two questions. If someone has a chronic child sickness, who has to be in the hospital for a long time, is this can affect the employee renewal of his work contract, especially if he is on visa, a J1 visa? The second question is, if I am like less than 1 month, 1 year working, I know that it's not applicable that I can apply for FML. So till now, I still have some of the sick leave and annual leave. I'm trying to go to the lab every day as much as I can. I didn't take the sick leave except for a few days because I felt that this might affect my position and through my supervisor. So I was afraid of that. But if I need to get the sick leave and I finish all what I have for any reason, because he was in the ICU for some time, is there any way to get this FML or not?
So based off of the just this information, and I don't want you to have to go into depth regarding the circumstances. but it sounds like no. That doesn't mean that there aren't other provisions, especially again, not to keep saying the same thing over and over, but with this new expanded family medical leave and the emergency paid sick leave, there are some other options, as well as the service requirements are different. So just to kind of answer in front of everyone, I would say no for the regular FML, but depending on how long you've been here, it doesn't. So like, for example, if you've been here 10 months and it ends up, going into month 12, so then you would become eligible, at month 12. But it's definitely something that we could talk through, depending on which department you are in. One of the leave consultants can specifically talk through your circumstance with you. I don't know if one of them want to chime in, and they may be able to better advise, but without, you going into sharing details, I would just recommend reaching out to us so we can see what is out there for you in terms of leave, in terms of job protections. In general, with FML, I know you mentioned something about, I think, the contract being renewed. If it would have been renewed and you're covered by FML, if it would have been renewed if you were working and not requesting leave, then that would be one of the protections. But again, I would recommend you reaching out to one of us, unless one of them wants to chime in now, Christine or JC.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, Shelby.
All right, so we're going to give folks just one last opportunity to raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question, or post it in the Q&A panel. And I've got some intel from our amazing leave management team that our Families First Coronavirus Response Act Power Hour will be offered on the next coming Fridays as well. So once again, I want everyone to know that we will make it available. It did fill up very, very quickly. Okay, so before we wrap up and sign off, and again, this is our last call for questions if you have them, I'm going to go ahead and open a poll. So for folks who've joined on your phones, this functionality may not be available to you. We apologize, but you are absolutely welcome to respond to your registration confirmation that told you the link to join today's session with any comments, feedback about your experience joining and participating in today's session. We really, really value your input, and we are all learning as we go through this new modality. So we want to make sure that we are meeting your needs as effectively as possible. On your screen, if you're on a computer or PC, you should be able to see a polling function, and we're asking you to let us know overall, this was a worthwhile program, 1 being low value, why bother? 5 is high value, oh my gosh, everybody take this tomorrow. Also, what did you enjoy most, or the key takeaways that you got from today's training, as well as what could we improve? And we also encourage you to tell us about the technology. Did this work well? What was effective about being able to join? And also if there were any challenges that you encountered or ways that we could improve this learning experience, because guess what? We'll probably be doing it again. So once again, that polling feature is open. And then I'd like to go ahead and kick it back to VJ as well as the leave management team for any closing thoughts.
Thank you, Shelby. My only closing thoughts, again, I want to thank everyone for signing up. Thank you for engaging. Thank you for your patience as we were working through the Poll Everywhere feature, and especially when we got to the slide that had the case study. So thank you, Shelby. But please don't think that this is a one and done. If you have any questions, please reach out to us at that UMD Leave at umd.edu email address. We are here to help. I don't want you to feel like if you get off of this presentation or this training, that if you think of a question that you can't then answer it. And just to reiterate what Shelby has already said, you will receive a recording as well as, some of the links that include, our resource documents on our website and who your lead consultant is. So you don't have to remember everything, because since you are a participant, we are going to send you the live recording. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, BG, and thank you once again to all our participants. So if you are completing the poll and have submitted all of your responses, you may also include your feedback about your use of Poll Everywhere, as that is a new feature we've added in today. So please feel free to take time and let us know about that, or submit any of your last final questions in the Q&A panel. We'll be sending a follow-up with a link to this recording as well as the workbook. So you're going to have all of the amazing resources, links, whom to connect with, who's your leave consultant, as well as the scenarios, so you will be able to use that resource moving forward and keep a copy of that for your records. So with that, once again, we just want to say thank you all so much for your time, and we look forward to collaborating with you in the future.